Hi there, everyone, and welcome to Paper Wishes Weekly Webisodes. I'm Sarah Newman, and I'm so happy you're joining me for this episode of Saturday with Sara. This week, I'm excited to show you a beautiful collection from our friends at Uniquely Creative called Color Crush. We have pattern papers plus coordinating paper and vellum die cuts to go along. So let's take a closer look, and we can begin with our patterned papers. So here, as you can see, you've got a pack of 6x6 patterned designs. You're going to have 32 single-sided sheets, 2 each of 16 different designs. And as I'm flipping through, you can see this absolutely gorgeous watercolor theme that we have. Lots of shades of blue, pink, purple, and green. Really soft and very subtle. Absolutely beautiful and so easy to use and so easy to work with, I think. So you're going to have lots of designs that coordinate perfectly between one another. So as you can see how beautifully that goes together. Lots of floral elements, which you'll see more of when we start looking at the embellishment packs. You also have some sheets with cutout elements here, like this one with the tags. This is one of my favorite designs in the collection. This one is too, because I think you could use this sheet as a sheet of cutouts, or you could use it as a background. Another beautiful watercolor design, and then here's some more cutouts and one final background. So super easy to use, nice to mix and match, and of course, perfect backgrounds for some of our embellishments. So to go along, we have a pack of over 40 matching paper die cuts. You can see on the back here just how full this is. You're going to have 2 of each design, and I've spread some of them out onto this sheet so that you can see them just a bit better. You've got some nice large elements that can be used as your card focals, and you also have some smaller pieces that can be layered up one on top of the other. You also have some sentiments in here as well. So really nice and very easy to use. In addition, we've also got some vellum die cuts. And again, you can see here on the back, this beautiful array. I think that just looks so nice. Now, these are all botanicals, really gorgeous designs on a variety of sizes and colors you can see in here. Now, the nice thing with these is that they are self-adhesive. So I've already put one element down here. I'll take another one. I wanted you to see this layering possibility. So I'm just going to pull off that liner and then pop this down, slightly overlapping. And you can see how beautiful that looks with the 2 individual elements, but that overlapping there because of the translucency with the vellum. So these are really easy to use and also just a gorgeous effect. So as you can see, we have got some beautiful elements to work with today, some things that are just a lot of fun to mix and match and so easy to use to create beautiful cards and other paper crafts. I'm really glad that you're here today, and I'm so excited to explore the creative possibilities with you. So come play with us. Here's a card design that comes together so easily thanks to the coordinating papers and the embellishments. I'm using one of my very favorite sheets from the paper pack, which is this one here. Now, as you can see, the design has a very soft pastel effect with several different light colors, as well as some brighter shades like the yellows and the oranges. And of course, this little touch of charcoal down here at the bottom too. It looks like someone used some oil paints and was sort of scraping off onto a surface. It's just a really beautiful design. Now, one thing I'd like to point out with this pattern in particular is that you can position it the way I did, which is how it comes out of the pack with this darker portion down here at the bottom. You can also turn this around to face whichever direction you prefer. So that's totally up to you. Also up to you is what other colors you choose to combine this with. So here I'm using some orange and blue. I'm matting this piece with the orange and blue cardstock. And this cardstock comes from the Tulip Parade cardstock pack. And you can see all of these gorgeous colors down here at the bottom. A lot of them worked really beautifully with today's pattern paper collection. And so I got to play one of my very favorite games which is mixing and matching and having a look at which different colors I want to combine. So here, if I'm taking just a plain white piece of cardstock, you can see clean and classic. This is a fail-proof way of matting any of your pattern papers. White and black generally go perfectly. You can also incorporate, of course, some other shades in here. So here's a kind of celery green. On the other side of this is a stronger green. So, of course, that's going to give you a different look. There are some nice blue shades in here, a brighter blue. On the other side of this, you have a pastel blue, which also looks really pretty. And there's no right or wrong with this. It's just the look that you want to go for. On the other side here, you've got a forest green, which I think is really interesting. Then, of course, with the pastel colors, pink is always a great option. And if you want to add a little bit more zing to it, of course, the orange in here as well. So it's a really great way to combine your pattern papers with some of your solid shades and pick up whichever one of or two of those colors in that pattern background paper that you want to emphasize. So after creating my card background, I added a layered focal, and I've got two floral bouquets here. Here's the larger one, and then I have a smaller one tucked underneath here. And let me grab this piece back and we can take a look at how this comes together. So I've simply placed this down. Now I've used some foam tape so that this has some dimension behind it. And then I've added some of these leaf vellum pieces. Now when I do this, I like to play with the positioning before I stick anything down. So I just kind of tuck these underneath around here, and then I can sort of see where I want to emphasize and how I want to create my focal element on here. And after I get that all figured out, then I'll come back and take off the liners, lift this up gently, and then simply place those vellum stickers down. It's super simple to do. I absolutely adore how that vellum blends into the backing. It is just an absolutely stunning collection, those beautiful vellum stickers. Super easy to use as well. So I've added some of those along around the outside of my floral bouquet here. And I've also got one of the paper die cuts down here with the birthday wishes. This is also popped up on foam tape. And I've accented this with a little bit of jute twine. Now the jute twine package, this is one that I pull from a lot with my cards. I love adding a little bit of softness to a card, and the tags in today's collection have a hole, a little tiny hole, that's just perfect for a bit of narrow ribbon or twine. What I also really like about the jute is that it isn't bulky, which is great if you're mailing your cards, and it's ideal for adding just a little touch. So you don't need to do a whole lot. Just a little bit will do the trick. And of course, the pack has lots of different colors to choose from. Then I've also got two little butterflies here, one up here and then one down here. These are die cut from the Flower Queen die cut set. So I've got this little one here and then the larger one up here. You've got lots of other elements on this die set, as you can see up here. And of course, they always provide a project idea for you too. So in this case, I was just using those butterflies here. Now, a little trick that I want to share with you. Let me bring in one of the butterflies. I've die cut this from just plain black cardstock. And when I get ready to glue this butterfly down, because it is so intricate and delicate, I have a favorite product that I like to use with this, which is the Sticky Specs. And these are sheets of micro dot adhesives. And although they come on large sheets, I just cut off a strip from one of them because a little bit goes a long way. And you've got your adhesive on the orange side, and then this is the liner portion. So all you'll do is separate the two, place your element on the sticky side, press that down, and then when you lift this off, the micro dots come with the piece. They will come off with that piece. And then you can just tap that down and you're ready to go. What's really nice about this is that you don't have to fiddle with a liquid adhesive, and you don't have to try and mess around with a glue stick. It just makes things a lot easier. So I've backed each of those little butterflies on a contrasting piece of cardstock, and this one is popped up with some foam tape. Then for the card inside, I have some more of that fun orange cardstock, plus another piece of soft pastel paper. I placed more of the vellum flowers tucked underneath this die cut with the full bloom message. Our next card also has a layered collage focal with these really fun die cut paper pieces. And I've got a beautiful background patterned paper, which I've splattered with a little bit of black ink just to give a bit of extra contrast to those pastel colors. So let's start with our background technique, and then we can have a look at the layered collage focal. So I'm going to grab another sheet from the patterned paper collection here. We can do our splattering on top. So a couple of things to take note of when you're doing a splattering technique. First of all, you'll notice I'm working on my craft mat. Now this is a craft mat that will not only protect my work surface from my inky, messy technique, it will also act as a palette. And I have to say, this is a craft mat that I've had taped onto my work surface for probably 14 or 15 years. And you can see it's held up really well despite being really put through its paces over the years. Now the other thing I'll need to have on hand is a dye-based ink. And I really like the ones from Hunky Dory. They're fantastic value. They're a great size, so they won't take up a lot of room in your crafting space. And the quality is excellent. So I'm using the charcoal, although of course this will work for any of the colors. Then the other thing I need to have on hand is a little bit of water. So I'm using a water mister here. And I need a water brush. Now normally with a water brush you'll fill the barrel of the brush itself, and then you'll squeeze as you're pushing that water out through the tip. I like to use this as a splattering tool, and I'll show you how to do that. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is use my craft mat as my palette. I'm just going to press that ink pad right on top, and then I'm going to spritz a little bit of water right next to that ink. Not directly into it, because sometimes that can kind of kick back a little bit, but next to it. And this gives me some control over making my watery wash here. So I'm going to mix this in. The more water I use, of course, the more diluted that black color will be. So this just depends on the look you're going for. Now I've got the tip of my water brush loaded with the black ink, and then I'm just going to simply hold this perpendicular to my work surface, and I'm going to hold the barrel with one hand and tap with my other hand. And I'm going to do a bit of a light touch at first, see how I like that, and if I want to add more, I can. So maybe I'll tap a little bit down here. Practice makes perfect with this technique, so if it's the first time you've tried this, you may want to try it out on a scrap piece of paper or cardstock. But then there you go. It has a really nice bit of color and contrast on there. It's quick and easy, and as soon as this dries, I can put it to use with my other materials. And since I'm working on my craft mat, all I need to do is just use a baby wipe or paper towel to mop that up, and I'm ready to go. So let's bring in our card again, and we can take a look. Here I've added a little bit of blue cardstock matting on either side, again for a little bit of contrast between the paper and that white card. And then for my focal, I'm using lots of layers of foam tape here, so I've got some dimension. So I've glued this ticket strip straight down onto the pattern paper, and then my Live Out Loud die cut is popped up on foam tape. So is the jar of brushes and the Life in Color cutout. So these are both up on foam tape too. And everything is overlapping, so it kind of leads your eye through the collage. Now the pencil is glued straight down at an angle and tucked underneath the rest of the collage. And then I've got two flowers up here. Now what I'm going to do is bring back in this other piece. So this has dried, so you can see how quickly that goes. And then if I take the same die cuts, and I'm just popping these down, they don't have any foam tape on them, but you can see how easily you can create a really fun effect just combining those paper elements with a beautiful background and then just adding a little bit of that spattering there around the outside edges so that it has a bit of contrast. And I like how that black really pops. Then for my card inside, I've got some more of another beautiful pattern paper, really soft kind of gradation here. And then I've got some more of these fun die cuts. I've got the palette and a little note tag, another pencil, and then the Make Stuff paper cutout. Now tucked underneath on either side, I've got, of course, some of those beautiful vellum leaves and flowers here just to create a really nice accent and to sort of grow out the rest of this small collage on the inside of the card. Here's another card. It's a very simple layout. It's also got some splattering here, but this time the ink has been splattered onto a surface with vellum flower stickers. So let's have a look at this. First of all, I'm going to bring in a piece of just plain white cardstock, which is what I used here, and I've overlapped a couple of those vellum flower stickers. So again, working onto my craft mat, I'm going to bring back in my charcoal ink, and same process as before. Add just a little bit of water next to this, and let me get my water brush here and mix this up. And then same process as before. I'm going to simply tap that ink on top, and I'm going around the outside edge of my flowers here, but I'm also letting the ink splatter on top of those flowers. So the flowers, because they're vellum, this is a non-porous surface, which means that this will act as a resist. And I can see already how the ink is kind of soaking into that white cardstock, but it's staying fresh right on top of those stickers. So what I can do is come in here with a little corner of my paper towel, and I can just pick up and gently wipe off that ink from my vellum surface. So I can kind of tap that off, and that will create a really pretty sort of halo effect around there. Okay, I'm going to mop this up because I want to show you another example. If you first do your splattering onto your white cardstock, and then you lay your vellum stickers on top, you'll be able to get another really beautiful effect with some of that splattering showing through the translucent flowers and leaves. So I wanted to show those techniques to you too, because I think it just really creates a very pretty effect here. Now with my white cardstock, I've simply trimmed that down, and I die cut that using the 8 labels for your greetings cuttings die and cutting dies. Now these are some that I use quite often. I really love these for creating focal elements like this one here. So then I foam tape this onto the front of my card. With this background pattern paper here, I also want to show this one to you. So it's got a really pretty sort of wreath effect, perfect for placing an element right in the center. I've trimmed this piece down slightly smaller than the front of my card, and I used my paper trimmer to do that. Now, when I had those leftover little snippets of paper, I saved them and I put them on the inside of my card, and using 3 of those together here to accent this cutout or that die cut. Now I've also inked around the outside edges of this piece with the gold Delicata ink pad. Again, creating some definition between the pattern paper and the background. And then we've also got a couple of embellishments here. I have the happy birthday popped up here with some foam tape, and I have a little bit of jute twine. I also have a little golden fairy silhouette, and this is from the Never Before Seen Fairy Dazzles stickers. It has several sheets and a variety of finishes, and I'm using the pearly gold, so you can see all of these sweet little fairy silhouettes. And they're super simple to pop down onto any of your elements here. In fact, let me show you this one here that we were working on. So I've got a happy birthday tab. I've got this on some foam tape. I'm just going to pull that off and pop this down. And then let's take another one of our little fairies. Maybe we'll have one going the other direction. They're flying in different directions. And we can put her perhaps right up here. So you can see how quick and easy it is when you've got some beautiful elements that coordinate, and you can create something that can be a simple and easy card focal like this one here. And then back to the card inside, I've got some really pretty blue patterned cardstock. Of course, my little strips of offcut paper. I have a cutout from the paper pack and then another little fairy. Our final project is an envelope box card design, and this looks really cute when it's standing up on display. It can also be flattened, so it can go through the mail really easily too. And it's super fun to make and really easy as well. So let's have a look here. Of course, I am using a cutting die for this. It's going to make everything so much simpler. This is the envelope box card cutting die. Here you'll have 3 metal pieces. You'll simply die cut one of each of those from whatever cardstock you would like to use. You can see the dimensions on here all described, as well as a project idea. On the back of the storage envelope, you've got some written instructions, another look at that project idea, plus all of your folding diagrams. It's super simple to do. Let's take a look here. So I've already die cut one of each of these 3 shapes. So I've got my card base, I've got the front flap, and then I have this center portion too. Now with this main piece here, all you'll need to do is simply die cut and then follow along the score lines to fold this up. So those score lines will be made when you run this through your die cutting machine. So all you need to do is go back and reinforce those. For this, having a bone folder is often really handy because that can give you some nice crisp lines here. Kind of depending on the weight of your cardstock as well. If you've got some heavier cardstock, sometimes it really is useful to get your bone folder and make sure that those are nicely scored. So this whole piece just kind of wraps around almost like a hug. So you can see that from the top. Then before you do any gluing, what you'll need to do is get this middle portion. Now this is just a rectangular shape. On either end there is a score line, and you'll go ahead and score those up. You may be able to see I've got some adhesive on here. For this, I really recommend the extra sticky tape. This is, as the name implies, extra sticky, so it holds this piece in place really well. And then what you'll do is simply remove one of the liners. I would like to start with one side first before pulling off all of the adhesive liners, because you don't want something to stick where you don't want it to go. And the hardest part is getting that liner off. Okay, there we go. So I have the adhesive exposed here. So what I'll do is align that sticky side right up with the fold here on the inside of my card base. So you can see where that's going, like so. Once that's in place, I'll remove the liner over here, and I can kind of close this up, and I'll have the same thing on the other side. Again, I'll angle this so that you can see. And then I've got these 2 sides that come around. That's where this piece comes in, and I will take some adhesive and simply glue that down like so. And then I can decorate from there. So then I will have my envelope box complete. So I've got some space in between here. I've also got some space in between back here too. So for my box design, what I've done is die cut the main piece from some pink cardstock, which is red on the other side. And then I've die cut this front portion from some patterned paper. The main focal is also plain cardstock, and this is die cut with the 8 labels die set, and just tape that in there. And here I've got a collection of vellum stickers placed all overlapping. Toward the bottom is a heart and a butterfly cutout from the paper pack, and these are both popped up on some foam tape. On the front we have a small cluster of flowers overlapping with a larger pink flower here, and of course I can't do without those vellum stickers. And then I've got a happy birthday message on some foam tape just overlapping. And that is our final card project of the day today. So I want to say a very special thank you to our friends at Uniquely Creative for this beautiful collection. And I want to say a special thanks to you for joining me today. We're really glad you're here, and we're so happy you're a part of our Paper Wishes family. Do feel free to leave a comment. We love to hear what you think. Each item can be purchased separately, and you can see them below. However, we've also bundled them into a creative money saver just for you. For the money saver, just see this webisode on paperwishes.com. And if you're watching us on YouTube, have a look in the description box below this video. You'll find a link that will take you to our Paper Wishes webisodes page, and you can see everything I just mentioned. If you enjoyed our video today, we'd really appreciate a thumbs up. It helps people to find our channel. And don't forget to subscribe. We create 3 to 5 videos each week, so there's always something fun to inspire your creative spirit.